Hello and welcome back. It's day 6, and as promised, today we are going to be digging into landing pages. And we can revisit your freebie page and put a little bit more spunk into it, or some design, or whatever you want to call it. We'll put it there. So let's get to it. Here we've got the dashboard, and again we come to websites and then landing pages to jump to that section. And you can see that our page is now here and it's published. So on one note, if you are uncomfortable editing a published page, you can make it draft like that and then edit it and then make it published afterwards. We're not going to worry about that right now. So first of all, you click on the words here or on the palette there to customize it. If you click on the picture or the eyeball, you get to preview it. So coming into the freebie page, we are in the landing page editor, and this is the same editor for websites pages or landing pages. It's all the same stuff. Now, as a general overview, the toolbar on the left here is where all of the settings are taken care of. And here we're looking at our sections of our page, and here's the settings. So we're just gonna quickly jump into the settings and see that there's a favicon, that you can put a favicon image there. The style guide is where you can do a page background or image if you want. That's going to apply to the whole page, so you might not want to do that. Primary color, what is that? The primary color is hyperlinks, video player background, and like the little play button over the video player and the scroll bar at the bottom. And I think that's about it. So I'm just going to change the hyperlink to red. And the button background color, notice here I've got a button that's red, but this says it's blue. This is the general page setting. So you can set any button to any color you want, but as a general rule, I'm going to have yellow, that color buttons. And then you can do general button settings here. Again, all of these settings are editable for every button there is on the page. So this is just a default setting. You can come to your fonts and open sans and furious sans, whether they're by default bold or normal. Just a warning, if you have it be bold here in the settings, then you'll never be able to make it not bold on the page. So I always like turning that to normal. And you can set some default line heights. You can set some font colors, and here you can set your font sizes. So notice that it says H1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and body size. And this is for desktop font sizes. And here's mobile font sizes, again, H1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and body size. And so these settings are the default, and you can change them anywhere from 144 to 8. If you want to set a custom font size, you can do that also, specifically where you're using it. It's not, well, it is easy for me. I've done it a bunch of times. It's not, what's the word? It's not built in. There's no built-in change the font right here only for this specific word setting. I don't know why. It should be there, but it isn't. So you do have to do a little bit of some HTML code to do that. But it is easy code to do. And if you come down, then you can change the error message bit as well. Any work that you do in this settings area, you have to hit save in order for it to take effect. And you'll notice my font went from bold to normal. Things in the settings don't update automatically. You have to hit save. So I'm using back in the toolbar, and I'm coming down to design tools, and I can show a grid. Again, hitting save to activate it. You can now see a grid on my page. I don't particularly like that, so I'm turning it off. And showing the guides is these blue boxes and words around the content, and I do like that. So I'm keeping that on. And lastly, you've got custom code, and here is where you can put custom code if you want to put it on. And you can do some super fun stuff with custom code, but that is not for today's lesson. So here we have also the version of this page. And sometimes it's handy just to be able to check to see what version of a page you're using. Coming back into the sections area, generally, just the general overview of this space. Again, we have the header, which I'm going to just quickly turn on here. So I'm unhiding that, and I'm unhiding that, and I'm coming back. All right. So we've got the header, which we can see up here, and we've got our sections, and there's only one. I'm just going to throw in a section quick, 3-column text. There we have it. And we've got the footer, and I'm going to turn that on so we can see it. And there we have that. And going back, and then we've got the exit pop-up and the 2-step opt-in. So these are not on our page, unlike the header, sections, and footer are. These are different things. And if you want to edit them, you click in it, and then you hit that edit button. And now you're seeing it. You need to make sure you hit that button again so that it goes away. If you go like this and you save your page and then you leave it like that, then it's just always there. It's not acting as an exit pop-up. It's just acting as a I'm blocking all of your content pop-up. So there's that. Make sure you turn it off if you've edited it. Same goes for the 2-step opt-in. You have to hit that button. Now you can edit it. Once it's done, you turn it off, and there you go. So what is an exit pop-up? What is a 2-step opt-in? Well, an exit pop-up is something that if your mouse comes up to the little X to close your internet browser or tab, it pops up, and it's like, hey, do this stuff. A 2-step opt-in is a button action. So here, this form, if I click here, I can scroll down, up here, thank you page. All right, sorry, that's a form. It's not technically a button. So let's just quickly come into the 3 text section. We're going to add a call to action button. Clicking on that button, here the button action, go to a URL, I can click open 2-step opt-in pop-up. And so what this does is it pops up the 2-step opt-in. So someone clicks on it, and then it pops up something which is usually a form, and that gives me the ability to collect a form information from this button without having to put a form on the page, which might not look so great for my design. All right, so that is this section here. Now, Kajabi will give you the full page overview right here. And if I click into this section by just clicking on this white space, or you can see a break here if I click into this section by clicking on this white space, otherwise I could click over here into either of them, I will come to a new view in my toolbar called the section view. And here in the section of 3-column text, notice the name 3-column text there, I see all of the blocks of content on this section. 3 text and a call to action, and I can see that over here on this as well. And so I can click into one of these, and now I'm in the block area over here where the content is. And I can call this block number, and you can see how this updates live as I'm typing it out. Block number 1, and it's made that change over there. I can hit the back button and I can see the section, and if I want to rename this, I can do it that way, block 1. And sometimes it helps to have your content named, but when you hover over something, you do get these dots. You can rename, duplicate, hide, or delete it. If I hide it, for instance, I can look at it and like, oh, interesting, this page looks good that way, but maybe let's see what it's like. Do I like it? Oh yeah, I like it better with both, with all 3. So it's kind of something to let you preview things. And if I grab onto the little stack there, I can rearrange things. And so that is nifty as well. So coming back, I've got my page view showing me the sections. Clicking into a section, I've got my section view showing me the content. clicking into the content, I've got my content view showing me the content. And that's important to understand. You'll get lost a little bit until you figure that out. So here in the section view, I have a background where I can make an image be the background or a video. And if I have an image for the background, but I want it to be grayed out a little bit so it's not so big, distracting, I can click here and I can, let's put this color over top of it, transparent, and there it's got a little bit of whatever that's called. And that's how you do that. And then I can also position this top. You can see it shifts a little bit, bottom, shifting, center. And this image is going to adapt to the size of this section. So for instance, if I click into the section here, I'm in the section. If I click into this piece of content and I make it super wide, 10, the section stacks a little bit more. And so I see a little bit more of the image. And if I make this one also 10, the image adapts a little bit. So that's important to kind of understand how the background image is going to adapt to the size of the section. Now within my section, I also have a desktop layout and a mobile layout. And these are very similar, except one is for desktop settings and one's for mobile. So I can change, first of all, I can hide this section. So if I don't want this section to be available on a desktop, but only on a mobile device, I click hide this section and now it goes away. If I come to my mobile view, it's there. And that can be really important to use when your design or your content that you want on the desktop doesn't work on the mobile platform. What it lets you do is design a section that is great for mobile and great for desktop and use them both at the same time. If you're going to do that, I highly recommend you come over to your section and you rename it and give it something like desk. And then you can duplicate it and you can come back to this one and rename it and call it mobile. And then you can go into it, go to the desktop and hide it. Come into your desktop one, go to the mobile and hide it. And now I just have one section here and I have one section here. And I'm gonna, just to help keep these clear, delete 2 of these blocks. So in this mobile section, I've got block 1 and the call to action, but on the desktop, I've got it all. So that is pretty cool. Now, back to our section settings. On the desktop section, we can control some padding. This is at the top, that is at the bottom. We can control some alignment, vertical alignment and horizontal alignment. So just as an example, horizontal alignment, space between, it just changes things around. Center, there you go. You'll notice these didn't move at all when I made that change, and I'll get to why in just a moment. Equal height blocks is, you see how this block jumped to be the same size as that block when I click that box. And the vertical alignment, if I take equal height blocks off, you'll notice this block is aligned at the top. If I go to the bottom, now it's aligned at the bottom. And if I go to center, it's aligned in the center. And section full width is going to stretch the blocks all the way to the edge. This is useful if you're putting a picture in here and you want your picture to go right to the edge of your browser. And making the section full height, you'll notice, makes it be a full screen height, regardless of whether there's enough content to force that to happen. And so there is that as well, some interesting things. Now, mobile layout, I've got basically my section padding. So again, the space at the top and the bottom. And those are the settings that you have for your section. And if we jump into a piece of content here, you'll notice we've got a bunch of different settings. So first, let's look at these boxes up here at the top. Width. Now, Kajabi is going to line up your content in a section according to how it can do, according to what? They'll stack as many pieces of content in a row as possible. That's what I'm trying to say. So this block here, you'll notice is really big. I've set it to be 10. This block here is 4, and the maximum is 12. And so if you look at this, I've got 4 on this one, 4 on this one, and 4 on this one. They're all the same size. 4 3 times adds to 12. So Kajabi will fit up to 12 blocks across your page. And if I want all of this text to be in a row, I make them all 4, and now all 3 will fit in a row across the page. And so this is an important organizational mechanism within Kajabi. I did it 8. 8 and 4 is 12. Now those two are on a page. Sorry to bring math into this, but it is what it is. Now, this is the first mechanism for organization. If you come down into the desktop layout, you can hit this, place this block on its own row. And I'm going to do that with the call to action. So I come down to desktop layout, I click place this block on its own row, and now it is on its own row. And that is a second aspect of a second mechanism, of positioning blocks on your page. Now, this block here is 4, and this one's 4. That's only 8. This section can hold 12, so there's room for space in between here. If I click here and come back to my section settings, click desktop layout, now I can go to the horizontal alignment, and I can go right, and everything will shift to the right. It wasn't as noticeable before because there wasn't any room for things to shift because there were all 12 blocks of that row were being used up. If I go to space between, space goes between things. If I go to space around, space goes around things. And space around is pretty nice, and center is pretty nice. Right and left are also useful. I don't really ever use space between. So I'm going to jump into center, and I'm going to come into this piece of content right here. We talked about the width and this mechanism for orienting things on your page. We talked about coming down into the desktop layout and putting something on its own row as a second mechanism. Now we're going to talk about outside spacing. This is the third mechanism for controlling the orientation of stuff on your page. So again, I'm in this block right here. This is the right-hand side, and if I put 100 in, then space gets put on the right-hand side of that. If I didn't want this block to shift over because of that, I could come into it, clicking here, coming down into the desktop layout, and putting 100 on this side also. And now there's 100 on that side. And so these have become off-centered. If I don't want it to be off-centered, I can take that off. And having these 4 areas, directions for each of these blocks is going to give me some flexibility to push things around. If I want it to just be a little bit more, I can just use small numbers. And if I want some space in between that, I can put some space there. And if I only want space, let's say I want space on that block, but I don't want space on this block, I can subtract some of that space and suck it up. So there's a lot of flexibility with this outside spacing, and it can actually get a little bit complicated because you're minusing here, you're plussing there, it's shifting everything, and you're just going to have to take some time to just push these buttons and see what happens. So within the desktop layout of a piece of content, you also have text alignment and inside spacing. So let's say I want to text align this way, but I don't want anything coming close to that edge. I can put 50 inside the box, and now there's space just on this side of the inside of the box. And I can put 0 there, and now 0 there. And so you've got some flexibility with that. In the mobile layout, you've got, again, alignment, you've got your inside spacing, and you've got your outside spacing. Now, content blocks do also have automations for movement, or animations for movement, and time reveal as well if you want to do that. Let's see. All right, so we talked about these ones. Each box has a background. So if I come into the background, I'm going to make the background color of this yellow so it sticks out. Notice how the background is going to the edge of my content. It's not going to the edge of my block. And remember that for this, I set my desktop, I made these be 0, which is why the words go right up to the edge there. If I come over to here and change the background, it is a little bit different. Pardon me, it's not. Now, coming in there, what's going on here? 0. All right, just needed to refresh that a little bit. That's a bit of a glitch. This is what it should look like, but it just needed me to change a number here and then move it back to 0 for it to, actually I didn't move it to 0. Notice how 0 is dark and this is empty. It says 0, but it's really empty, and you can see visually a difference. 0 that I type in is literally 0. 0 as just being empty is the default setting, which I think is 10 or 20. But if I delete that 0, it'll revert back to the default. So where was I? Oh yes, over here in the background. You can change the background color. You can add a border. I'm going to put a solid border on. You can see the border goes there. I can change the width. I can change the color. I can change the radius to make it more rounded. That's actually kind of useful. And I can put a box shadow on if I want. And you can just see a little bit of a shadow there. Under the topography, you can enable a drop cap, and that I've never seen anybody use. Maybe some people do. And for the call to action, notice there isn't one, but every text box has the ability for a call to action. You can put it on, and then there it is. You can change the text of it, click this, and you can adjust the settings. So remember, my default settings for a button is that, but I can make this a full button. Auto, I can make it solid or outline. And I can make it those sizes. I can change the radius. So this actually is interesting that they just leave you such a big box for it. I don't think anything above 50 does anything differently. 50 is the biggest number you can put in here to have any effect on something. And maybe, anyways, so there's the border radius, the text colors, and the button actions. And so there's a lot of actions. You can go to a landing page, a checkout page, download something, URL, open a pop-up checkout, so a pop-up form, pop-up checkout, go to a different section of this page, or open up a modal. And a modal is just like a little screen. It's like a two-step opt-in pop-up, except it's just like a message, not a form. Yeah, and so that's it. That's a button. Now you're thinking to yourself, how do I move this button around? Because it's over here on this side of the corner. I want it to be in the middle. And you're good for thinking about that. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but this is how you do it. This is the desktop. So I go to desktop layout, and I have to orient this content block to the center. These controls here are the only controls you have to control the button. So if your button control alignment disagrees with your text alignment, then you have to come back into your text and you have to choose a specific alignment for your text. And then your button and your text can have different alignments. And let's see, so I went over the section options. Coming into the content, I've gone through the content options. And really, that is what you get to play with when you are on a landing page. It's kind of a lot to take in. Take your time, click around, and see what you can see. Tomorrow, we're going to come back to the landing page, and I'm going to talk just a little bit about the different types of sections and content that you can put in. Some of them have, well, I'm going to get into all of that tomorrow. So that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. Today, you can experiment a little bit, take some time, push some buttons, see what you can do. And tomorrow, I'll go through the content blocks in some detail and give you some help with that. So see you then.